Hi, I'm Jean, and this is the second of the series that we're doing about our benchmark textiles from the Threads of Life collection. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported us in the first round of textiles that we put up for sale from the benchmark collection. It's been really helpful, especially during this time. Bali is very, very quiet. There aren't any tourists. Stores and shops are all closed, and that includes Threads of Life Gallery, which has been closed for the last 14 days. These online sales are what are going to keep us going and eventually be able to get out into the field again. And so we really appreciate your support in this. We have 40 staff. It's a lot of people. We're keeping them on a percentage of their salary, but it's enough for everybody to live, and we're hoping to get by through these next few months. So I thought today I wanted to take you back to the beginning. This is an absolutely gorgeous textile from the La Malera collection, and it's a three-part textile. So you can see the three sections. And this was from the first set of 14 women that we began working with in 1998. So we still work there. We hope to be able to get out this year. But all that depends on how cash goes. So it's really unusual because it has these uncut warp ends. So what that means is that the textile is never worn. It's actually a textile that is stored and maintained as an heirloom. It has these incredible, beautiful patterns here, which they call the eye of a fish, but is perhaps a representation of the patola textiles, the Indian trade cloth textiles that were part of the trade currency for the spice trade currency. So this is all hand spun natural dyes. This was probably made in the 1960s. Beautiful indigo, marinda, and then over dyed in these dark areas. So from La Malera, we then began to try to understand more about textiles that were available, and we traveled to Sumba. And this is one of the most stunning textiles that I think we might have, even though it was sold as an antique. And it isn't an antique. It was, at that time in the 1990s, antique textiles were what everybody was looking for. So they made new textiles, and here they overdyed it with a yellow from Maclura cochinensis. And they didn't have to do that because in its own right as a new textile, it is just simply exquisite and massive. This would be stunning on a big wall. If you have a big wall and a couch, a fireplace, it would be absolutely beautiful. So with the lobsters and the tree of life, here you can see with the cotton buds, these are long centipedes, and centipedes can be dangerous, so they imbue the textile with power. Lobsters shed their skin, they regrow, regeneration, and then this beautiful center field, which actually would have been white, but they overdyed it with the Maclura, and so you have this yellow center field. So very, very unusual, and the supplementary warp patterning in the center of the cloth. So from here, imagine it all the way up to the top, and it would be a stunning, stunning piece. So after seeing these antiques made to order, we found one of our really dear friends in East Sumba and started working with her and making textiles that were new but maintained all of the traditional elements about textiles. So here is a beautiful man's hingi, not quite as big as the one I just showed you, but this would be worn as a hip cloth by a high royal. The difference that you can see is the sections that appear on the cloth. So the value of the cloth in the past would have been how many of these sections were maintained, as opposed to a strong lower field end section and then a middle. It would be the number of basically stripes of motifs is what was considered to be a highly valued textile traditionally. So on this cloth you have the star pattern, the cockatoos, and the beautiful, beautiful light blue cockatoos here that are a reflection of the dark cockatoos. These cockatoos are looking over their shoulder, and that's about knowing that as you are on your path, you can always look behind and know that your ancestors are there to continue to help you move forward in a way that will bring you well-being and health with your family. Tamil Ramuati from East Sumba also was a master in color, is a master in color. So this lovely textile that is of indigo and red, strong red color. Oops, I'm going to turn it around. So this would be the top of the textile, which is a little bit less decorative, and the lower part of the textile. Very simple, very classic, and really beautiful. And we decided at that point in time that these were the kinds of textiles that Threads of Life was going to focus on. The textiles that were traditional, made with the integrity of what the ancestors had given, handed down the art form as, and we've maintained these relationships with the women for probably now, 20 years and even longer. So from Sumba, we also went on over to Flores and started working with Flores weavers. This is from the Ende area and is a really lovely classic brown textile. Some of the most difficult dye work that is done in all of the archipelago to get the red and this dark. You don't see any real blue in this because the blue is all over dyed into this dark dark brown black. This process of dye work is, I think, 7 different steps that take over 3 months to be able to get the dyes beginning to be set in the color they want. Look at the beautiful join on this cloth. Tiny, tiny little stitching. And I love the patterning on the end, the white that was maintained in the process of the overdying. So they would have had to tie off the white threads, and you maintain these like white edges. Another area, Flores, from Maumere area. So a textile of this length would be made only by a master weaver. I'm going to fold it in half because she would wear it like that. And textile would have been worn up here, around the top, and belted. And these tiny lines here would indicate that the woman was such a master that she could do this intricate ikat. So again, you see the difference of this tiny intricate ikat compared to like the first piece, which is just exquisite and beautiful and bold. But the skill set also was valued by traditional communities of the color and these tiny lines. What you see in this that's really interesting is the bordering. So these elements here, these orange stripes here that border this pattern, the central pattern, but even within the central pattern, there are lines that create continual borders. And that's part of that traditional knowledge that we need these borders, we need these divisions, the divisions between nature, the division between humans and where land rights are, the divisions where humans and deities, ancestors are, the divisions between even where your crops are going to be so that your animals don't come in and ruin the crops, the boundaries. And the last piece that I want to show you is we were trying to find a way to recover other items of textiles that were not just the large textiles, but also beetle nut bags. which were extremely beautiful. The overdye in this, of being able to achieve this really dark indigo. So in this case, there is no overdyeing actually. This is just indigo repeated, and then you have this warp wrapping technique of buna. So it would be worn over the shoulder by a man, like that. And what he would be carrying would be put inside it, which would of course be betel nut and any other things that he was carrying as he went to visit or to a market. So these are 7 pieces that I hope you enjoy, and I hope I did some, I was able to give you some understanding of what they're about and why they're important to us. So stay tuned for the next series.